I feel out of sync in Mexico because the cultures are just so different, and it's such a drastic change when you come down here because the food, well, apart from the food, well, the food is kind of fresh. When I first got here, I got really sick because I wasn't used to the food. But the people, everything, all the stores where you go shopping, it's really big. I mean, you don't know where you are. It's not like you feel like you're in a different world or anything. It just feels different. It's like a feeling you can't really explain unless you actually live it. I was born in Mexico, Guerrero, in a small village called Huitzuco. And I was 3.5 years old when I first moved to the U.S. with my parents. Well, my dad got a work permit in the U.S. and he sent money for my mom first, and then we were waiting down there in Mexico. And then a few years later, this was all occurring during like when I was 1 year old, and then when I was 3.5, they sent money for me to go up to the U.S. to live with them in North Carolina. Well, just my mom, because my dad wasn't there anymore. We had to illegally cross. I used the documentations of some other kid that had the same appearances as me, which allowed me to get over. Same with my sister. The relationship between me and my mom when we first met again was kind of dull. We didn't really bond as well as we used to because when I was in Mexico, I mostly lived with my grandparents, so I bonded more with them than with my own parents. And when I met them again, I didn't really feel that much closer to them. My role model when I was growing up was my uncle, my mom's brother. His name was also Andres, just like my father's. And he was like a father-brother kind of figure to me because he was always there. He always helped me when I needed help. We always played together. We played soccer. He trained me. We ran. We rode horses. We went fishing. So he was like my brother-father figure. I lived in North Carolina for around 9 years. And I did most of my studying there when I was young. We moved to Minnesota to live with my father because he told us he was working there and he found a nice job as well for my mom. So we moved there, and then I stayed there for another 6 years till I was 18. I finished the high school there, and yeah, there was an incident that occurred when I was going to homecoming. It was when me and my friends were out and we were coming back. The police pulled us over and they asked us what we were doing. And of course, since we had a huge stash of toilet paper in our car, they pulled us over and they told us to get out of the car, so we did. And then they asked us for our IDs, and I pulled out my Mexican ID. And then he asked me what this was, and I told him it's a Mexican ID. And at that point, I thought they were going to find out that I wasn't there legally and they were going to kick me out. So I was thinking that, all right, so they're going to kick me out. I'm just going to tell them that I live alone so that they can just kick me out and not my family. And then I can come back somehow to finish my senior year. But the officer that took my ID asked another officer what this was, and he told him it's just a Mexican ID. And after that, there wasn't any problem. He just let me go, and he took our toilet paper, and I went home. There was a huge fear of just some person discriminating against them, calling immigration to come over because there were illegal immigrants there. Discrimination still follows me around, but it's not like that drastic. For example, if I wanted to go to a nice college, it's also very expensive, but they also require legal documents for me to go there, which I didn't have. So to continue my career, I had to come back to Mexico to finish it. I guess it doesn't really it doesn't hurt or anything, like emotionally, but it feels like discrimination still, because there in the US they called me Mexican as well, and I feel like I don't really have a home to go home to, because if I'm in Mexico they call me that, if I'm in the US they call me that, so I don't really know where to fit in anymore. I guess it did make me a stronger person because it made me want to get further in life, because on my mom's side of the family, nobody has ever graduated or gone to the university, and my sister and I are the first ones. So that's what motivates me to keep going and get further in life. I think I can achieve some goals in Mexico, but not all my goals that I want. That's why I'm thinking about, after I finish my bachelor's degree in architect here in the university, I'm thinking of going up to the US to finish my master's degree and get further. If you have a passion to do something, you should do it. You should always follow your dream and never give up just because they discriminate or tell you, no, you can't, because you always can. Nothing's impossible. Look at me, I'm almost done with, well, in 3 years I'll be done, but after that I'm gonna go study my master's and hopefully be in Europe.